I'm Javier Quintana. I'm an architect. I've been volunteering for the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat for over 12 years, first in Spain, then in the United Kingdom as of January 2022. I've become the Chief Executive Officer of the organization, now based in Chicago.
You all have taken a very keen interest in tall timber design and construction, charting the global spread of tall timber buildings, authoring reports, hosting conferences. In nurturing the growth of this sector, what larger shifts have you seen in attitudes toward building taller and taller with timber?
Well, for sure, there's been a growing interest in the industry towards timber. I personally think that the conversation between nature specialists and city specialists had stopped for some reason in the last decades after a good start in the early 20th century. And well, that conversation is starting to happen again. Luckily, that's good news. There's no way to evolve city and nature, protect each other, the development of one and the other without that. And that's happening, at all levels and in many fields. As an architect and also representing an organization as CTBUH, I think that is absolutely crucial. And we're just, the kind of sounding board of what is happening outside, also what our members, our architects, engineers are demanding. And in this growing interest again towards nature, timber, sustainability, in the context of climate change, timber is protagonist. And so, there's been first this, as I said, growing interest, but then the industry acknowledging that this is key has also helped a lot. For example, one of the shifts, clear ones, is that now the International Building Code that affects here in the United States, not all its states, but most of them, they are incorporating guidelines for buildings that are now up to 18-story high in timber. Before, you would not be able to build more than 3 story or even 4 stories, in timber, and with a few exceptions now. So that is a massive, massive change. Also, the fact that there's so many developers taking the message and the responsibility of climate change and inviting engineers and architects to propose, from my point of view, very attractive projects. Some of them are shown here in this exhibition.
What do you think it will take to have, for Chicago to sort of become a leader in this innovative new technology?
Well, I think this is a milestone, this exhibition. There are not that many exhibitions that have covered, the importance of timber in architecture or in city planning. And the sequence that you have here with recovered and reframe, I think is quite strong. That's first of all. Again, I think you are reflecting, a mentality. Chicago has been always a very avant-garde city in terms of building tall. Obviously, this is the place where skyscrapers started, but also in the different evolution of materials. It's interesting, you can read the history of architecture through the buildings at the Skyline in Chicago. Timber is not necessarily always representing going taller, but it's reflecting other type of interests, from sustainability, weight. A city like this reacts very well also to the idea of construction and the need of what is needed, and it's a very pragmatic approach, the things, in Chicago, what can be done in a reasonable amount of time, and timber is good material also for that conversation.
What makes a tall timber building tall? I know the council comes up with classifications for tall and a special classification for timber. So how does that stand apart from conventional definitions of tall buildings?
Well, the council does not have a specific definition of what a tall building is. At the end, tallness kind of relates to time and also to context. Tall buildings in timber, what we make the difference is between mass timber and stick framing. Stick framing is the traditional way architecture in wood, in timber was used and affects and is used in most of these all the houses that the family homes that we all know, and even maybe a 2-story high, 3-story high, maximum 4. No. When we talk about mass timber, it's a complete different definition and concept. We're talking about engineered timber, laminated timber, glued timber that arranged in beams, columns, walls, slabs. That's what makes it a. First of all, it gives far more structural resistance, also fire resistance, and interestingly, in a lightweight solution if you compare that to steel or to concrete. No? So let's say that to be a tall building in timber, you have to be talking about mass timber. And then there's new classifications out of that, and I think it's probably one of the most interesting developments of the industry is how you combine that mass timber with other materials. Then you have what we call hybrids, mass timber, a timber steel hybrid, or timber concrete hybrid, or even steel concrete timber buildings, and which each of them you achieve different things, different levels of prefabrication, of resistance, or heights. But that's the kind of classification that we've come up, because it relates very much to the either behavior of the building or, of course, the height that they can achieve.
Engineering innovation and a lot of research in the field that's pushing buildings taller and taller. Would you say that's important as well for clearing the path for many more smaller buildings to arrive in our cities made of timber?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's like what happens with Formula One, no? Or I always call, the tall building industry a bit like the Formula One of construction. You test things that are a bit at the limit because of the circumstances of, going really high or very fast or being very slim. There's all this, and out of that you get a lot of innovation that then is later, transferred to the rest of the industry. So I think there's like two paths. One is the vertical and the other one is horizontal. This exhibit, shows that this is not just about tall buildings, it's about buildings in general and the effect of, what timber can create in cities in general.
Thank you for joining us today, for giving your take on mass timber.
Thank you very much to CAC. Ian, thank you very much. It's been a great experience to do this as a team here at the Chicago Architecture Center, in partnership, of course, with also the Softwood Lumber Board, that they've been great in helping us, to understand this world better.